What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Stirring the Pot. We are back from our hiatus, back on the airwaves of U92 The Moose. We got everybody here in the studio. We got Dom, John, RJ, and myself. We've got a loaded slate to talk about college football and NFL. We're going to try and keep it short and sweet this time, because it's always sweet here at Stirring the Pot. But before we get into some great talk about the national championship and the divisional series going on in the NFL, guys, how you doing today?
Terrible. Lost. My childhood just ended yesterday. We'll get into more detail about that in further weeks. But New Year's resolutions are going great. Set a goal to go to the gym 3 times a week. Unlike Braden Laszlo with 6 times a week, mine is actually achievable. I set the bar low for a reason. And I started drinking more water because I'm trying to get rid of my Diet Coke addiction, even though I'm drinking Diet Coke right now. Anyways, John, how are you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal, Dom. Thank you for asking. It is a very fun week of football coming up, and we just got some big news that affects my franchise about a certain quarterback going back to college. We're going to talk about probably in a second as we recap his game, but a lot of good football going on. We're going to get to both in this probably next hour because this just been every week there's a banger game going on, multiple games going down to the wire on Wild Card Weekend and in the CFP, and a fun national championship coming up next Monday.
Yeah, I mean, start of 2026, we're all back, middle of January. This is the fun time of the year. This is where almost for obviously the transfer portal in college has been going on. I mean, a lot of that news is kind of already dropped. We'd have to do that probably after NFL kind of cools down.
We got some dead weeks
going
on.
The dead weeks we'll talk about the portal, but obviously national championship coming up. For the NFL, the playoffs has been electric. Super Wild Card Weekend, people. Don't ever diss on it again because, my goodness, this was so special.
Yeah, and it's the greatest time of the year. It's January and February when great football is played. Obviously, there's great football played during the regular season, but this is when every day counts. Practices count just as much as the games during these weeks of football. But we're going to talk a little bit about college football. Obviously, there was a new rule passed not the WNBA, the NCAA. We were talking about the WNBA about half an hour ago, but
sorry, we're talking about any sport besides football.
Yeah, it's basically beyond the boot. The geopolitical discussions that we're putting the bio of that podcast. But yeah, it's been there's a couple new rules being passed with the NCAA. Obviously, we will talk about that in a later episode when we get into the transfer portal with the redshirt eligibility games played being moved from 4 to 9. It's a major shift for college football coming. We'll get into that in the coming weeks with the upcoming episodes here. But it's been a really fun national championship road. Obviously, the national championship will be played on Monday, January 19th. We are going to Buffalo Wild Wings for that game because it's a West Virginia Mountaineer tradition for us so far. We've gone to every single one of them since we've been here at Buffalo Wild Wings because John has the gift card pressure every time. But
some good memories watching RJ crash out over Michigan about freshman year as Michigan just embarrassed Washington.
That was great.
Got him back really that following year.
I just hate people that have gift cards. They make you spend money all the time. And unfortunately, John has the infinite money glitch with Buffalo Wild Wings gift cards. He, for some reason, is just swimming in money. I don't know how.
Swimming in it. And hopefully they're going to be swimming in it down in Miami after this national championship game. I think it's going to be really fun. You've got the Miami Hurricanes, the 10 seed, going on a bit of a Cinderella run coming into this national championship game, going up against the betting favorite, the favorite by every margin of the word, the number 1, Indiana Hoosiers. No, we're not talking about basketball. We're talking about college football. Curt Cignetti's Hoosiers in the national championship behind the Heisman winner, Fernando Mendoza. We were not here to talk about the Heisman. That was great. You love to see it for a guy who's so well-spoken. He's just been very, very good coming into – he's just a professional. And it's what you kind of want to see for the upcoming quarterback classes coming into the NFL. But just kind of that poster child of Indiana right now, coming from, I believe he was a 1 or 2-star recruit going into college. Had to work his way up at Cal. And, I mean, you love to see it for a kid of his upbringing. Obviously, he talked in his Heisman speech. He spoke in Spanish because he comes from a Latin American background. And, I mean, it was really cool to see that kind of representation on a national stage. But he's got the Indiana Hoosiers ranked number 1. and they are in the national championship game. Guys, what are your thoughts on this game before we go into a bit of the road for this teams?
Well, my thoughts on this game, I like this comparison. I think I saw it on Twitter, but Curt Cignetti and Fernando Mendoza are being compared to the old man and Russell from Up. The old man looking miserable, and then Russell just smiling in the background. It's very accurate, actually.
My name is Russell.
Anytime you just pan the camera towards Curt Cignetti, he doesn't even look like he's smiling. He looks miserable. Just absolutely whooped Oregon. Same expression on his face. He doesn't care.
Would that make Malachi Tony Doug the dog?
I guess so. What about the bird?
He's just like the sidekick.
What about the bird, Kevin?
Kevin.
The bird is Paul Feinbaum.
I think so. But
Paul Feinbaum.
It's the resemblance is uncanny.
It kind of is. Now that you say that. But yes, this is two really fun teams. Obviously, Indiana plays a little bit of a more Big Ten style of football, but Miami has a very potent offense that we have seen throughout this playoff run. They have both played, Indiana's played 2 games in this so far. I'm scrolling through these now.
Indiana's played 2, Miami's played 3.
Miami has gone on a bit of a Cinderella run. I think we should talk about Indiana first because I think Miami's a little bit more fun of a run. But Indiana obviously having the 1 seed, getting the first round bye. They take on Alabama on January 1st, New Year's Day. And, 38-3. It has been smooth sailing so far for Indiana in these playoffs. Obviously, 38-3 in the first round of play for them. That'd be the second round for everybody else. And on Friday, January 9th, Dante Moore was put into his grave. Obviously, he's coming back to Oregon now, but 56-22. Are we kidding me? Or are we kidding? I don't know why I said me there. Are we serious? What is happening? Obviously I knew this team was very good. Obviously, everybody knew this team had they had a high motor offense, but I didn't know it could look that good. They were firing on all cylinders. What are your guys' opinions on how Indiana's looked so far in this CFP run for them?
I mean, they've compared this team for some reason. I mean, I understand why to the Joe Burrow LSU team is they've looked I've seen it. I've seen this. I'm not going to say that it's true, but this Indiana team looks complete. I really thought Oregon was going to put up a fight. I mean, clearly they did not. But, I mean, if we're putting up 3 touchdowns in the second quarter as Indiana, and unfortunately John's agenda, I mean, if you were to see the look at the national championship or predict, somebody would say it's Miami against Indiana. You would just get laughed at if this was a few months ago. But it's become a real thing. I mean, Indiana's 15-0, and we were kind of discussing this a few days ago, but you look at the opponents that Indiana played. I mean, Kennesaw State, they were almost made it, basically. The teams that they played earlier actually ended up having a good season, ended up becoming, more respectful wins, I would like to say, even though earlier in the season when we were saying that Ty Simpson was the lock-away Heisman candidate, that
fun
Indiana
times.
was my 4, Fernando was my 4. Yeah, how the tables have turned on me. I mean, this Oregon, I mean, shame on them. This game was embarrassing.
Yeah, Oregon really felt the lack of Noah Whittington in that backfield. He was the main running back for them, the main kind of rushing threat on that team. And it was clear that him and Dante Moore Dante Moore on the back at running backs just did not have the same synergy. There were a couple fumbles because of that. And just Indiana's just boat racing teams right now. I mean, it's remarkable how this team has just. The games don't even feel like they're over in the first quarter. It was over on the first play this Friday when Dante Moore threw a pick 6, but Indiana has clearly shown they win in every measure of the field. They win on the line of scrimmage. They have some great talented receivers, and I think one of the best players in this playoff has been Charlie Becker so far, that tight end. Him and Mendoza, roommates by the way, have just a great rapport of just he's been the biggest player for the Ohio State game, in the Oregon game, in the Alabama game. He's making plays everywhere, and it might be the greatest coaching job in sports history. I'm going to be completely honest here with what's today's done to Indiana. I mean, this is a team that was literally all-time in losses a couple years ago, and he's just has been national championship. It's remarkable, and they really feel like they've just cemented themselves as the bully of college football right now.
I mean, yeah, both of these teams between obviously Indiana and Miami have one thing in common, and that's controlling the trenches. Now, obviously, I know, Dom, that comparison with the Indiana team looking like that, high-flying LSU offense. Obviously, two very different offenses, two very different stories. I think for Indiana's part, nobody expected this out of Indiana's second year. I mean, obviously, we saw it at Cignetti, and obviously last year they had some success, but they weren't there yet. And then now have not lost this whole season. I mean, you've looked through their path, just destroying every team. And it's due to that defensive line and even offensively, just having Mendoza, some of the great throws he's made. Obviously, Big Ten championship was his Heisman moment, and then going throughout the college football playoff. Indiana is here, and they're obviously the wide favorite for a reason because, yes, Miami does have that defensive line, and that pressure has just obviously been collapsing and killing these teams that they've had to face, like Ohio State getting embarrassed by it, and then Ole Miss putting up a pretty decent fight, I will say. Pretty impressive fight there by Ole Miss. But I will say, between these two teams, they kind of have some of those similarities, but at the same time, you're looking at what Curt Cignetti has done, like John has mentioned, at Indiana, in such a 2-year turnaround, which I've been thinking about it. Most likely, unless obviously some only comparable situation, this could be Vandy, but still to a different, I guess, extent. This Indiana run probably will never be replicated. And I think if they were to somehow top this off in the national championship, beat Miami, in Miami, mind you, this game is in Miami, Florida. And this Miami Hurricane team hasn't been outside of Florida too often this year. But if they manage to do it and get it done in basically a road game, I mean, this Indiana team will go down in history as just one of those great, obviously especially undefeated. I think it was, Yale in the late 1800s, or was it early 1900s, as the only undefeated 16-0 teams or whatever. I tell you what, it would be awesome. This game's going to be exciting. Both of these teams have had very interesting paths. One's obviously a major underdog, but you can't count out Miami either.
I will say, going back to what Dom said about being compared to Joe Burrow, LSU, 2019 LSU, that is ridiculous. That LSU team will never be replicated.
I don't know why they even made that comparison. I've just been seeing it go around on Twitter. I'm like, it's not even remotely close or the same situation.
It's not the same style of football.
Near 6,000 yards passing, 60 passing touchdowns.
Indiana runs the ball a lot.
They do.
I think it's more the fact that their team just looks perfect right now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's recency bias, I think is what that is. But when you're favored 68.3%, you have a minus 8.5 point favorite. We do not condone gambling here at U92 The Moose, but if you're a betting man, you got to think that's a little bit, in my opinion, unsafe of a line. I love this Miami team. We'll get into it when we talk more about this matchup. Obviously, it is legitimately a home game for Miami. They're playing at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens. That is saying a lot when you're favored on the road. 68.3% of people taking Indiana in this game. But this Miami run cannot be underestimated. They have gone on a bit of a great run. Texas A&M is who they beat in the first round, 10-3. That was a dogfight. And I mean, it was a really bad quarterbacking game. Carson Beck and Marcel Reed just went at it and said, no, you win. Here, take the win. No, you take it. No, you take it. But in the end, Marcel Reed finally got the last laugh and said, no, you take the win. And he gave the win to Miami. Like the very charitable man that he is. I know he was giving away chains to his teammates from GLD with a partnership, but yeah, he also gave away a win to the Miami Hurricanes. He's so charitable. He's such a nice guy. But in the first round, Miami take down number 7 Texas A&M in the tournament. And in the second round is where it got really interesting. Miami taking down number 2 Ohio State. Now, did anybody see this coming? Maybe a few people, maybe a few Ohio State haters, but for the large part, a lot of people did not see this one coming. Obviously, Carson Beck coming from a very pro-style offense there at Georgia. They like to run the ball and pass the ball at a kind of the same rate, but Mark Fletcher and Carson Beck were cooking in this game. And I think this is really where you started to see that kind of switch flip in those Miami players' heads. Obviously, Ruben Bain getting on Instagram and being a little bit of a troll towards Ohio State. You had to see that one coming, but that was a marquee win And that kind of propelled Mario Cristobal into people's heads as maybe he's not that kind of choking head coach. Maybe it's going to flip the script here in Miami for this team.
He still ran. Let's not forget what happened against Georgia Tech. Let's just not forget that, even though we're here.
Are we going to forget what happened against Ole Miss in the next round?
No, we should remember that one, 'cause that was a pretty convincing win for him.
Game-winning drive by Carson Beck. 2 minutes left, 2-minute drill. That was a masterclass from Carson Beck. Obviously, he had a bit of a hiccup in the middle of the game, but Fletcher ran for 133 yards. Marion had 7 catches for 114 yards and a touchdown. And to cap off that game-winning drive within the last 2 minutes of the game, Carson Beck rushing touchdown using his legs. But what a run for Miami, honestly. I think we saw a lot of different teams playing in this national championship. If you saw anybody else but Indiana on that one side of the bracket, I don't know what to say. I feel like you're a bit whacked out. But I think on the other side of the bracket, you had a little bit more leeway where you could go with your picks. But this is a really fun national championship. I love this Miami team. What do you guys think of the run that they've gone on in this playoff run? 5 wins in a row out of their last 5 to go on this run.
I honestly didn't think that Miami was going to end up in the national championship, and I kind of feel bad. I really thought the Ole Miss Rebels could pull it off. I feel bad for Ole Miss fans. I mean, you lost your coach in Lane Kiffin going to LSU. You're going to lose Trinidad Chambliss, ? Not confirmed yet. Kind of. It's a tricky situation.
There's a legal battle going on with the NCAA. Chambliss and his team of lawyers are suing the NCAA for a 6th year of eligibility for him.
Yeah, but I feel like Miami, since the start of the season, it's been an up and down ride for them, a real roller coaster ride. But I think it was week 1 where they played, I think it was LSU.
No, it was Notre Dame. It was Notre Dame.
It was Notre Dame. They looked Notre Dame. They looked like a really complete game, a really complete team week 1. I mean, Carson Beck, honestly, we've been talking about this for months already, but we're projecting him to be basically the steal of the draft. He's very patient in the pocket. He clearly has that clutch gene. He was able to drive down the field against Ole Miss and have that winning drive. I mean, he's got all the intangibles to be a great quarterback, and he's shown it time and time again. Some games it looks like he's a little bit off, but when he's on the same page with his team, which this Miami team gives him a good supporting cast, he has that room for success. I feel like he's going to give Indiana a good run for their money. Well, at least I'm hoping for a good game here.
Yeah, I mean, this Miami run has been very much like, as much as I love Indiana, this Miami team's run has been really convincing for me. And I think for one main reason, that was because I think the Ole Miss game said a lot about this team and just kind of who they are, because in the first 2 rounds against A&M and against Ohio State, they won the game in the trenches by that dominant pass rush of Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor. Obviously, some Mountaineer fans might have some conflicting feelings about, but he has been a force. And they were both they wrecked Ohio State's offensive line, they wrecked A&M's offensive line, and were just looking like this dominant pass rushing duo. And then they get to Ole Miss, and in watching that game, Ole Miss was winning the trenches most of that game. They were kind of moving Miami around. They were kind of pushing him around, being the more physical team. But Miami still found a way to win that game. I think that says a lot to me in terms of, like, this team can win when everything's not going right. It's very easy to win when kind of your game plan is being executed perfectly and when you're kind of everything's going your way. But in Miami's case, winning when your game plan is kind of going maybe not the way you want it to go was very convincing in my opinion. And as both mentioned about Carson Beck, I think we're kind of seeing that in this new college football era we're kind of getting into of kind of, you know, in kind of new era, having that experienced quarterback has been for multiple years of just has experience in the playoffs and big games. It's very important, obviously. You saw J.J. McCarthy go at Michigan, who has a multi-year starter. Last year, Will Howard, Ohio State, guy who has started multiple years. He's had more experienced starters, really just commanding, just showing how they can win. They're the guys you want in these big games. And also, it helps a lot. You have a guy like Malachi Toney, who is just maybe the next dominant young receiver in college football, who's looked awesome throughout the entire season. But going to be a very fun game for both these teams. This should be a pretty balanced matchup, I think, even though Indiana's kind of beating the brakes off teams. I think Miami can give them a good run.
Yeah, John, I think especially, I know you mentioned Malachi Toney. For this Miami offense, they've looked really good, and especially opening up that run. And I think really kind of towards one of those last drives against Texas A&M in that game, which the kicking conditions that were horrible. Miami missed 3 kicks in that game. I think a lot of people tend to forget about that. That was one of those, like, just one of those weird low-scoring games almost anybody could have won. And then you see that first half against Ohio State, and everybody's like, whoa. That's when Miami kind of put their stamp on the map. And I think really especially how that came through was through the running back, Mark Fletcher Jr., obviously the junior from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I tell you what, though, this Miami team, and I think obviously we also talk about the defensive ends as well for Miami and that defense and getting pressure and forcing those quarterbacks to make mistakes. And when you have a guy like Carson Beck on your side, one of those experienced veterans in college football, and you're also going to play against one in Fernando Mendoza, both of those multi-year starters, John, I know you talked about that. The experience battle will be very interesting, but I think for Miami especially, I know the stat it was like against ranked opponents. I think it was either a couple games into this season. Carson Beck was like 73% or like somewhere around that 70% range, which is just absolutely nuts because against that competition, when you need those throws in those moments, Carson Beck can be that guy to do it for you. When you have a receiver like Malachi Toney, that obviously really helps you as well. And obviously, I'd even say also as well, C.J. Daniels has had a good impact on that for the Miami Hurricanes as well. So for this Miami team, people cannot count them out. And I mean, obviously, I know Connor, you mentioned the spread earlier, 8.5. We don't condone gambling, but looking at that line and how the public views it, Miami, do not be shocked. If they even go in, Maradi, this is a home game for them. So that crowd environment, I know Indiana has the boosters having a lot of that alumni, but those Miami fans are going to be loud, and you never know with that defense and that energy, it can go their way in a hot second.
Let's get into our picks for this game. I'm not sure, because I know we're going to have at least one person that goes away from the crowd on this one, but give me about a sentence or two, since we've gone over a lot of different things about both of these teams already, on what you think is going to happen in this game and who you're taking to win this game. Now, obviously, RJ mentioned again that the Indiana Hoosiers are favored by 8.5 right now. We do not condone gambling, but I think that is that's a bit unsafe. Obviously, this Indiana team is very, very good, but I think this Miami team is prone to wrecking games on defense. Obviously, they've got a lot of guys who are very, very good. Ruben Bain, a potential top 5 draft pick. Akeem Mesidor, who has forced 4 fumbles this year, 10.5 sacks. He has been an absolute game wrecker. And they've got multiple guys on this defense who have more than 4 interceptions. Jacoby Thomas has 5. Bryce Fitzgerald has 6. Keontae Scott's got 2. Ruben Bain has a pick himself. But this team is very good at forcing turnovers, and I think they're going to get in the heads of Indiana early. So I'm going to go with my pick early. I'm going to go away from the crowd. I'm going to take Miami in this one. I'm going to potentially save the graphic. I don't know what you guys are going to get into on your picks, but I love this Miami team. I think Carson Beck can definitely get it done on the big stage, but I think this defense is really what's going to propel them.
I feel like I can't pick against the favorites here. I'm going to have to go with Indiana. This is going to be I'm hoping this is the way this is shaping up to be. This is going to be a high-scoring game, in my opinion. I feel like Miami's defense is good. It deserves a lot of credit. You got a lot of top prospects, such as Ruben Bain, who's definitely going to be a top 10 pick, or maybe even top 5, depending on how much he gets perpetuated. But I feel like I'm not going to give an exact score projection, but I just feel like every time I pick against the Indiana Hoosiers, they end up winning. So I feel like I have to pick them. So I'm hoping the other outcome, Connor's outcome, comes true. So I'm going to have to go with Indiana winning this one. I mean, they've proven that they can beat tough competition. I feel like Ole Miss was a tough team to beat. Of course, you have Kawan Lacey and Trinidad Chambliss, both very credited guys, have done a lot this season, deserving. And I feel like this is a 50-50 game for me, but I'm going to have to go with Indiana here.
I kind of disagree with Dom in the sense of that I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game at all. I think you're going to see a lot of these teams both these teams trying to go on these long, extended drives. You saw Miami doing that Ole Miss game because I felt like for the first half, Ole Miss never had the ball. Miami was just killing clock, running with Mark Fletcher, having these really long drives. I think Miami's going to try to go for that again because of how good the Indiana offense is. I think Indiana wants to kind of do the same thing because that's just kind of how they've been operating really with on the ground and then kind of setting up those longer strikes downfield to their receivers and Charlie Becker, who's amazing. But, I mean, you can't pick against Indiana right now. They just are boat racing teams. I just can't pick against them right now. I think it's foolish to doubt what this team can do, and I think this might be their toughest test yet, but I think the Hoosiers got it, and we're going to see an Indiana National Championship in the year 2026. Who would have thought?
I think the big question mark for your point, John, about these long, extensive drives by either, obviously, Indiana or Miami in that game clock, will these defensive lines allow that, because both of these defensive lines are really good at getting pressure, and obviously stopping the run is going to be a key factor for Indiana in this game. I think if you got to stop Mark Fletcher, because if you don't, that passing game is going to open up for Miami, and that could be a spot to put Cignetti and Indiana in dangerous trouble. But I will say this, regardless, this game is going to be close. This game, I'm on John's side with that. I think it's going to be more low scoring. Just with these defenses, I do not see that many points being given up at all. I wouldn't be shocked if this game was around more of that, I guess, 25, 30-point range. You never know. Could be a defensive slugfest. But in this close matchup, I'm going to have to take Indiana. Just to me, they've just looking too good. It's a script. I don't know who wrote it this year, but I just think they have Indiana winning the national championship. And in 2026, John, you would have predicted it. I don't even know if you would have predicted this last year.
I still can't believe that's the best prediction we've had this podcast, I think, ever, honestly.
But I think Indiana is going to
For the uneducated listener, when we did our sleeper teams last year, I picked Indiana because they said they had a really good coach and had two good transfers in Elijah Surratt and D'Angelo Pons. I had not think they would get this far ever. I don't think any of us did. I mean, wasn't it in the promo for a while? Indiana's not going to make the playoff.
It was. That is
how things have changed so fast.
That might be one of the greatest takes ever. That was a very early take too. I think mine at that time was Nebraska, and how wrong I was.
Hey, if Viola didn't get hurt, I mean, speaking of Viola, what are his agents telling him? I mean, why is he going to Oregon to sit for a year?
Yeah,
I didn't think about that, but what a time that was. How fast things can change in 2 years. But speaking of how fast things can change, we have a very different looking at NFL playoffs right now because a certain man in red is not there.
Yes.
And it gave us some great games this weekend.
The bad man is not in the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes is not in the playoffs this year. Neither is Lamar Jackson.
Well, there was a guy with the nickname of the bad man. He was in the playoffs and no longer is. But, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He's lost that nickname. He's lost. You can't call him that anymore. He's lost it.
Yeah. So the NFL playoffs have been an absolute fire show. It's been so fun to watch these games. A lot more parity. Obviously, you don't have the Chiefs, you don't have the Ravens, you don't have those guys that you're used to seeing in the playoffs every year. So it adds a lot more parity into this playoff slate. But every single game in the divisional, or not in the divisional, in the wild card, was so fun. Every single one of them, except the fourth quarter of Steelers-Texans. That was fun if you're not a Steelers fan.
Or if you're a hate watcher like I am.
Yes, that was very fun for me personally because I'm a huge Houston Texans fan this playoff. I think this team is very fun. But let's get into a little bit of recap before we go into predicting the divisional games. First off, I would like to have my condolences out to the whole state. Both states, honestly, because they both root for this team. The Carolinas. I'm so sorry. They should have won that game. They really, really should have. And Bryce Young looked insanely good at the end of that game. Obviously, the first half, honestly, was a bit shaky for the Panthers on offense, but they really got it together in the second half. Looked really, really good. Jalen Coker, believe he's Holy Cross. 9 catches for 134 yards and a touchdown. Really getting that synergy with his young quarterback. But Matt Stafford and the Rams were too much. I think we kind of saw that one coming. But on the same day, we got an even better game. The Packers and the Bears, one of the longest rivalries in the NFL, finally playing in the playoffs again for the first time, I think, since the early 2010s, or was it the early 2000s?
2010s. They had the NFC Championship game with Jay Cutler and Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
That's actually
BJ
nuts.
Raji.
Wonder who won that game. But the Packers falling to the Bears 27-31 behind. Get this. The Bears scored 31 points. 25 of them were in the fourth quarter. 25. Which is the most by 2 points that were scored by a single team in the fourth quarter. Can you guess the other one? The Houston Texans.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just taking it down on the Steelers right now. But Bears-Packers was incredible. Caleb Williams came alive into the second half of that game. Obviously, the Packers went up 21-3 at half. That's going to be the new Falcons-Patriots graphic for anybody in the NFC North. But Caleb Williams passed for the most yards in the wild card, 361, 2 touchdowns for him in that game. The Iceman is really living up to that nickname the Chicago fans have been giving him. Colston Loveland 8 catches for 137 yards in that wild card win for Chicago. They move on to the divisional. Let's just go over the Saturday games first. What were your guys' thoughts on the Saturday slate?
I was honestly very, very angry that the Panthers lost. They had like you said, Connor, they had every right to win that game. They played so hard. And, I mean, people were counting them out. I mean, I get why you would count them out already against the Rams, but people don't realize that Carolina beat the Rams in the regular season. And what gets me even more angry is that Rams fans are acting like they handedly won that game. They'll post it all over social media. I secretly know in their minds they were scared. They were to the last minute. I mean, yeah, and the lesson from the Carolina Panthers is you simply just need a better offensive line, because as soon as that football was snapped from the center, the Rams D-line would be on Bryce within seconds. Yeah, he didn't have much time to throw.
Yeah, and I mean, it didn't help that Ike Ekwonu went out in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think he's going to be out for a large portion of next year, too. Believe it was a fibula or was something in his leg. But I'm not sure if it was a fibula or if it was some like patellar tendon. It could have been the patellar tendon. I think that sounds about right. But just losing somebody the quality of that kind of left tackle, I think that's kind of what stunted the run game for the Panthers, which has been so good for them so far this year. Obviously, Rico Dowdle coming in. I think he's going to leave in free agency, which kind of sucks, but that means
better.
I think it's better for him. I think he deserves a starting role somewhere, those RB1 definite carries, but Chuba Hubbard looked really good in this game. I think he was great in the pass game. He was great in the running game, and I mean, for an O-line that looked so banged up, he was kind of the saving grace for that offense when they needed it.
I mean, they did everything they could. They even blocked a punt.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I mean, they say there are no more victories in sports, but I mean, for Carolina fans, how can you not feel good? This is a team we all had. Remember when we did power rankings at the start of last year? We all had him the last, but I think it was unanimous. We all had him at last, or we all had him like second to last, because it was just a disaster. Bryce Young got benched. He looked like a complete draft bust, one of the worst trades ever. But now, he played great in this game. He really did look comfortable. He had some mistakes, but I feel like for Carolina fans, you're starting to see the vision for this team and kind of building into the future. They have talented receivers. They have talent at running back. They have a very strong interior defensive line, obviously building around Derek Brown. I think for this game, the more compelling narratives from the Rams side. I mean, they're currently, obviously we don't condone gambling. You're need to, but they're currently the second best odds for Super Bowl right now, and they looked shaky this game. Their secondary, which was playing great for the first half of the year, really has taken a step back, kind of how we thought it would be. Much was the weak spot of this team, and Matt Stafford just had some mistakes he made in this game and some overthrows. It looked pretty bad. So the Rams look pretty shaky right now. Panthers had a great moral victory, and in terms of the Bears, they keep doing it. What can we say? They are one of the best fourth quarter teams in the NFL, and that was a very convincing win for them.
Yeah, I think a big win for the Rams, and obviously the Panthers. I mean, I was driving down to Morgantown during this whole game. I didn't really get to see much of it, but I was getting my updates. Obviously, Jalen Coker having that great performance, and I think obviously with the Carolina Panthers picking up Bryce Young's fifth-year option, that's beneficial. I think really for that, and really what they've been starting to build under Dave Canales, I think they're just fine. I mean, this LA team is really good, and I think obviously. I think this is more of the Panthers showing that they can hang around with the tougher teams in the conference rather than the Rams looking. I mean, the Rams did look shaky, don't get me wrong, but still, this Carolina team is nothing to snooze at. I think the Rams really had a great win, especially now going against the Bears in Chicago. That game will be really interesting. It's kind of the battle of narratives. Obviously, Chicago trying to build their own, and the Rams trying to keep their own narrative. That'll be pretty fun.
Before we get into the Sunday slate, which was the largest slate of the wild card, of 3 games, I just got a tweet from Ian Rappaport that I wanted to share with you, Dom. It was a retweet of a Tom Pelissero tweet. The Steelers requested an interview for their head coaching job for Jesse Minter.
Who is
the Chargers defensive coordinator?
Everybody's been wanting an interview. That's the 19th.
Why?
I don't know.
Hottest candidate on the market, people.
Give me a fun coaching carousel.
Does he look handsome? Does he have Tomlinisms? I don't think so.
No.
Next one.
So let's go on to the Sunday slate of the wild card. Obviously, the Monday slate we will talk about a little bit more in depth because we have a fan of one of the teams in that game from the Monday game. Not the really side you want to be on for a fan of that game. So it's going to be fun. But Sunday, the Bills and the Jaguars faced off in what was a game that John and I actually listened to on the radio. which was very fun because it was snowing on the way. But 27-24 for the Bills, who had to come back. That was a really fun fourth quarter. 28 points scored between both teams, 14-14 for both of them. That was Josh Allen's legacy game. I mean, come on, man. He was pretty banged up coming into this game. This team was pretty banged up coming into this game. It was in Jacksonville, and he went up against a really stout defense and it said, hold him. And I mean, he looked very, very good. That was a convincing win for the Bills, and they showed their ability to come back and face adversity because Travis Etienne was playing very well. Parker Washington went for 7 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. And on the other games, 49ers take down the Eagles. This was pandemonium in Philadelphia, seeing all of my friends post all of their hate speech on Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you want. Every single social media forum was essentially getting burned down. You might want to say grease the For You page, because Philadelphia fans were going nuts over Kevin Patullo and the play calling, who has recently been quote-unquote fired. He got demoted, basically. Looks like he's going to remain in the organization, but he's not going to be the offensive coordinator or the play caller for the offense anymore. He might go back to being a quarterback's coach. That's where he got hired from. He was Jalen Hurts' quarterback's coach last year, but 23-19 for the Niners, outscoring the Eagles 13-3 in the fourth. Brock Purdy looked pretty good in this game, and I think we will talk a little bit about the Niners and their injury problems because George Kittle tore his Achilles in this game, which is going to be a big, big factor coming down the stretch for the Niners because they play the Seahawks next week, and that's going to be a fun game. But the last game in this slate, probably the most boring of this slate, Chargers-Pats. This game was 9-3 going into the fourth quarter. That's right. The Patriots and the Chargers, one of the most unhealthy teams in the NFL right now, aside from the Niners. The Los Angeles Chargers were only one score behind the Pats going into the fourth quarter. But Justin Herbert got mauled during that game. That offensive line really showed their lack of quality. And I mean, PFF was right, putting them as some of the worst offensive linemen in the NFL by PFF grades. I believe they had 3 of the legitimate worst PFF offensive linemen just starting for him. Yeah, let's just put it hypothetically, if he had an offensive line. No, I'm not going to go there. But Drake May, 268 yards and a touchdown in the air, 10 carries for 66 yards. Whoever said Drake May can't run the football is wrong. But what are your guys' thoughts on the Sunday slate of wild card football?
Chargers, just get an offensive line. I understand that Slater and Joe Alt-Delete, who deletes himself from every season, wasn't there. Yeah, they need some help on that offensive line, and maybe the if man can do something from there. Sorry, Chargers fans. I'm so sorry. You guys should have never moved from San Diego. But the other game, the only important other game, I mean, the Philly Niners game, like that one kid said, Patullo should be flipping burgers in McDonald's, and A.J. Brown should be packing his bags, maybe.
That was a great video.
That kid's famous now. Good for him. But like that one guy says, and I mean, it's a running joke now, Saquon up the middle, Saquon up the middle, A.J. Brown deep ball, incomplete punt.
Great
See
job.
you next year.
Great job, defense. Great stop. Man, they're great.
Yeah, the Eagles, I mean, it's just... We were talking on the car. We drove back to Morgantown to see. We were talking about, hey, maybe the Eagles can lock in and just be the team they were last year and just dominate these playoffs. And that did not happen. I think Kevin Patullo's already gone. Good luck to you, sir. You have a great career at Burger King. But, I mean, I think they probably could use a bit of a reset. There are a lot of good, great OC candidates out there. Mike McDaniel's a guy they've been linked to, but they might have to do another reset like they did a few years ago. But I think the most important game from this weekend was the Jags-Bills. I think, honestly, watching this game, I was just thinking, or listening to this game, is this just Josh Allen's 2001 Allen Iverson season, where he's just gonna be he's banged up, he has a lot of injuries, he was in the tent a couple times this game. He's a very flawed team with not many good receivers, and he can just carry this team all the way to the Super Bowl. I mean, I think he definitely can because he was playing just out of his mind this game. I mean, that 10-yard QB sneak was one of just the most craziest plays from this crazy weekend of football. And I think this really could be the year because there's no dominant team in these playoffs. This could be the year where Josh Allen just says, I'm the best quarterback in the world right now. I'm the best player in the world right now, and steps up and takes the Bulls all the way. But that's a convincing win because Jacksonville's a very talented team, and they're going to have a tough chance in Denver this week against a very talented Broncos team in Mile High.
Yeah, I'll kind of go off the order of how the games were on Sunday. That Bills-Jags game, me and Don were watching on the TV while you guys were listening in the car. It was a great game. Obviously, with Trevor Lawrence, that tough pick at the end of the fourth quarter. I think Buffalo, that was a big win. This Jacksonville team was fun this year, and I think Liam Cohen deserves, obviously, a lot of that credit. And that Jacksonville team, I think they'll be back. I don't think this is a one-and-done type of situation, but a great win for Buffalo. And like John said, if you want to be the best quarterback in the league, you got to beat Denver, and you're going to have to beat whoever comes out of New England in the Houston game. And then next game, me and Don went to the grocery store. Most of this game was on the 49ers and the Eagles, but kind of just seeing how San Francisco just really, I guess, compared to Philadelphia's offense, Brock Purdy was moving. I think he played a pretty good game. I can't lie. Brock Purdy deserves a lot of credit in this victory as well, but obviously with CMC, just those offensive troubles for Philadelphia, it's a tough loss. Obviously, Connor G mentioned Patulio on the staff, so that was kind of weird, quote-unquote fired. Don't know exactly what to call it, but he's not going to be the OC. That's what we know. But I think for Philadelphia, there's obviously some questions there. But San Francisco banged up, a great win. Kyle Shanahan deserves a lot of credit, in my opinion, one of the best coaches in this league. Just his ability to make nothing into something is just unbelievable. And then that night game was just garbage. The incredible if lost. 16-3. Drake May. What a great performance for him. Obviously, I hope for his sake he has to play better against this Houston defense this upcoming weekend because, my goodness, we'll talk about that game next, but Houston. That'll be fun. But Mike Vrabel getting New England back into the playoffs and getting a victory, obviously at home, very key for them. And this divisional round is going to be so much fun.
I think there should be a shout out to that one reporter, what she had to say to Liam Cohen, because it was like just, I don't know, it was just so wholesome. What she had to say to him, and just basically credit him for his coaching tenure this year and what he's done for the Jaguars program. But good for her. I mean, that was a great moment.
Yeah, and I mean, that was really nice to see that kind of wholesome energy from anybody in the media because everything's negative nowadays. But let's go into the Monday game. And, I mean, we have a resident fan from this game. Not the right fan for this game, but 23 unanswered points in the fourth quarter for the Houston Texans, who demolished the Pittsburgh Steelers 30-6 in Pittsburgh. That was about as dominant of a defensive performance as you could ask for. The absolutely switched it into a higher gear in the second half. 408 total yards for Houston to Pittsburgh's 175. Now, the Houston Texans had more turnovers than the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were 10 for 15 on third down, while the Steelers were 2 of 14. That should tell you all you need to know if you know anything about football. But, I mean, this was utter domination from the Houston Texans on defense. 2 defensive touchdowns, one from a Kalen Bullock pick six, which could inevitably be Aaron Rodgers' last career throw.
I think it will be after the recent news about the certain head coach in black and gold.
Yes, and one of them was a Sheldon Rankins scoop and score off a Will Anderson forced fumble on a sack from Aaron Rodgers. But
And a 50-yard pick six.
Yeah, I mentioned that was the Kalen Bullock one. Yeah, I'm just going to let Dom go off on this one because we have a Steeler fan who just had his head coach, he stepped down. Everybody's saying he got fired. I don't know why everybody's saying that. He stepped down on his own power.
That's those silly Billy fans who wanted him gone, which in 5 years, whenever we don't make or win the championship of the AFC North, you're going to say, oh, I miss Tomlin. Oh, and I'm just going to smile and say, well, you wanted him fired. But he didn't get fired. He stepped down. I understand it. I mean, you can only do the same thing so many times, and the same exact result happens. That's just insanity. But this game, we played down to textbook definition. And this reminds me of a lot of a certain team, to the Cleveland Browns. Very good defense. I mean, defense was stellar first quarter. It was 6-7. I mean, we were destined to lose at that point if it's 6-7. I mean, defense was able to. I mean, the whole first half was great by the defense. You got so many turnovers. C.J. Stroud, he looked terrible the whole first half, and it was not the defense's fault. Just like, and eventually the defense is going to get tired. They're out on the field for so long. The offense is going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out within a minute each time they even get the ball. Our third down conversion rate that game was horrible. I don't even know what it was. It was terrible. I honestly think our offense was better when we had no DK Metcalf, which I don't know where the Kenneth Gainwell screens were at in this game, but they seem to be very absent, as they didn't even happen at all. The ball couldn't get ran. I mean, I knew this was kind of destiny. This is like Steelers every year. We lose. We get blown out in the playoff game. I really thought maybe the home advantage would help. No, not one bit. No. It is what it is. I'm at least thankful, or to this point where I could get to the playoffs every year. Now, some fans wanted that taken away, so now I can maybe experience for my first time in my life having a losing season. I don't know what that feels like.
Enjoy it. Yep, it's all I know.
Well, you should say enjoy it to the fans that wanted Mike Tomlin gone, which congratulations, you got your wish. Now we're going to be fed to the wolves, and we've been having this argument over the past few days of who's going to win the AFC North, and it's like, no, you have it. No, you have it. No, you take it.
It's charity work.
I mean, the only employed coach is Zach Taylor. So.
Yeah, no, that was not on my bingo card. John Harbaugh
He's the last
fired.
man standing.
I thought he was going to be the only one gone.
Kevin Stefanski gets fired. Mike Tomlin steps down. Zach Taylor, he's still there. Yeah.
I saw
Who, me?
a TikTok of Zach Taylor. I believe it was, do you know Benchwarmer Brand on TikTok?
Yeah.
It was Zach Taylor and Mike Tomlin talking, and it was just Zach Taylor being like, oh my gosh, we're going to go fishing in the offseason, we're going to have so much fun scheming up these teams, and then Mike Tomlin just disappears. It's just like, oh, where'd he go? But that's kind of how it went. I mean, the AFC North next year is going to be
NFC South this year.
It's going to Okay. I'll tell you that much.
Losing team makes the playoffs.
It's getting even better when the Bengals trade Joe Burrow to the Jets, but...
Okay.
Bro.
And this, fans, is why you should not do drugs.
Oh, my Lord. This game, though, I'm going to tell you, the first 3 quarters, it was neck-and-neck football. I mean, it was ugly on Houston's side more, but I will say that it was obviously a really fun and entertaining game.
Yeah, I mean, there were some reports saying that C.J. Stroud actually ate a box of buttery popcorn before the game, and that's why he couldn't hold the ball. So,
Oh, yeah.
but we have to get the nickname for this Texans defense. It is enter nickname territory with how scary good they are right now.
It was that fourth quarter defense. Obviously, the 23 points scored in the fourth quarter. And it was funny because ESPN at the beginning of the fourth quarter put up a stat, and it was the fourth quarter point differential. And we were like, oh my God, Dom. I think the Texans were like plus 40, and the Steelers were like, what, minus 30 something?
No, the Texans were plus 78.
Or was it 78? Yeah,
Yeah.
It was a huge number. It might have been Pittsburgh minus 40 something. That's probably what it was. And then you just saw that Houston defense come into form. Sheldon Rankins or the Will Anderson forced fumble that Sheldon Rankins took for 6. And then the pick 6. That could have been the last pass of Rodgers' career. Rooney even said it himself that the reason, or one of the main reasons why Rodgers came here, was for Mike Tomlin. So you have to think Rodgers retires off pick 6, which is truly insane and nuts. So Houston Texans defense is insane.
I would like to point out that with this game now, this puts the Texans at a plus 101 point differential in the fourth quarter this season.
Jeez.
23 points in this fourth quarter in the last game. Over the full course of the season, that puts them at a plus 101. I don't know if we've seen numbers like that before, and this is statistically the best defense in the NFL that we've seen since the late 2000s, and I mean, this team is a bunch of glass eaters, and I mean, there's a lot of different players. We'll talk about it for the next round coming up, but we will be doing predictions. We're going to do a little bit of a pick'em for the divisional round, but let's get into it now, and then we will sign off for the day. So the first game coming up is Bills-Broncos. Give me about a sentence and your pick for this game.
Bills-Broncos, I mean, Josh Allen, he has that dad strength now. He is going to be a father with Haley Seinfeld. I feel like the I'm sorry. The Bills are going to win this one. The Broncos have a very good defense. It's going to be close, but I don't feel like the Broncos have enough momentum on offense.
Yeah, I mean, I said my piece on Josh Allen earlier. He's going to play some amazing football. I think this week he's going to show why he's the best quarterback. And the Broncos have had a very shaky year. They've kind of had a lot of these close games come down to the fourth quarter, kind of very similar to what Houston's done, dominating the fourth quarter. But I'm going to take the Bills and Josh Allen here.
I think Josh Allen is going to play an amazing game. Obviously, a Mile High, very tough environment. Obviously, Denver's defense is good. But I think with Josh Allen, though, will he get the win? Obviously, he'll put up that, superhero performance. But I might be the lone man on this. I'm going to go Denver. I'm going to go. I like the coaching of Sean Payton more than Sean McDermott in this. I think really what it comes down to, I think Bo Nix, you have to unlock him a little bit more. You're going to have to show something to Buffalo that you haven't shown them all season. I think Denver gets a really close victory.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, this is just the battle for who gets dog-walked by the Texans in the AFC Championship. I'm going to go with the Bills in this one because I think Denver's offense doesn't translate to the playoffs that well. Obviously, the Bills' defense has been a little banged up in the past, and I mean, they're just playing lights out. I mean, you saw it in that fourth quarter. They really made a good stop against Trevor Lawrence when they needed it. They're clutch. And the Broncos' offense is the exact opposite of that. So I'm going to go with that, even though Denver has a really high-powered defense, and that's what I like in this playoff run. But 49ers Seahawks, Saturday night, 8 p.m. This is a rematch of Week 18. Who are you guys going with?
I could really see this being a 50-50 game. It all depends how Sam Darnold plays. George Kittle getting injured is a little bit of a concern and worry for me with the 49ers. I'm going to have to go with the Seattle Seahawks. They just have the way more potent offense. I mean, you talk about it, JSN, Rashid Shaheed, Cooper Kupp. I mean, you have the dynamic duo of Zach Charbonnet, accredited back, and Kenneth Walker, the guy who gets them to the red zone. But, yeah, I feel like the Niners, I mean, it's like a used car that you trust for so long, the parts fall off, and you still keep driving it, still trustworthy. But Seattle's just way too good of a team.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Seahawks here. I think the Niners' injuries are going to eventually have to catch up with them. And I honestly see how self-destructing like Philadelphia did last week. I'm taking the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Seattle as well. I think, obviously, Shanahan and the 49ers make this a respectable game. I think with how many injuries they have on defense. And Seattle's offense, to me, is completely different than Philadelphia's, especially being in Seattle. The 12th man will be loud. I'm going to go with Seattle.
I'm going to go with the Niners in this one. I just think Sam Darnold's not built for the playoffs. I don't know what it is. He's had very shaky games in the past, some of them being against the Niners. But I just think they have their number. They've got that momentum from going into Philly. I think they're going to carry that in. And Christian McCaffrey, I think, is going to carry the load on offense. But those wide receivers are very underrated. Juwan Jennings and I believe it's Demarcus Robinson are both very talented wide receivers. Obviously, with George Kittle being out, that's going to be a bit of an issue in the run game. But I think the Niners get it done. I think they go to the NFC Championship. But on the other side, on Sunday, this is a crime that this is a 3 o'clock game, Texans-Patriots. This is going to be so fun. One of the best offenses in the NFL versus one of the best defenses in the NFL. What are your guys' picks?
This is a very tough game to pick. This will be at Foxborough, correct?
Yes, it is.
I feel like the Patriots are going to win this one. It is at Foxborough. I mean, the only concern that I have, first, I never thought that Ramondre Stevenson would be the trusted RB1 in this game. But for some reason, he's earned that trust of Mike Vrabel. He hasn't had a fumble or turnover in quite a bit. And I feel like New England is just a very well-coached team. Sure, they might not have the offensive weapons that other teams do, but they just seem to get the job done. Great defense. Texans have a great defense. I feel like this is where you see C.J. Stroud make an error that will cost him the game.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with Patriots too, actually, here. I think Alan Connor's very upset right now, but I think the Texans' bad offensive line is going to be very problematic on the road and a tough place to play in Foxborough. Patriots made quick work with a bad Chargers offensive line last week, and I think Drake May had a very shaky game last Sunday. I think he's going to have that kind of jitters off of him now and play a much better game against a very talented defense.
Yeah, I think this game is going to be close regardless. I think both of these defenses will kind of show, obviously I think more Houston's than New England's. Both offenses will have trouble, I think, regardless. To me, this game will be really close. I think this Houston defense will really set up a lot of situations for them to score. But obviously, as Dom mentioned, C.J. Stroud is going to do something. And I don't know whether by pick or fumble. It's going to cost him the game. It's just how Stroud plays in the playoffs. He has more wins in the playoffs than Dak Prescott, might I add. Funny fact. But I will go with the New England Patriots in a 3-point game.
I'll take all the smoke for this. I do not care. I'm going with the Texans. This defense is way too good. And I mean, Will Anderson, Sheldon Rankins, they've got Daniil Hunter on that line too. They've got Azeez Al-Shire in that linebacker core, Kamari Lassiter, Derek Stingley, Jalen Petrie, Kalen Bullock in that secondary as well. This is a hard-hitting, hard-nosed team. DeMeco Ryans knows how to run a defense. He played at Alabama. He played for the Texans. He was, I believe, a Texans lifer. And, I mean, he came back to the organization that there was a dispute about money that was owed to him after an injury. $10 million back in 2016, and they put that water under the bridge and said, let's go do something. This is the year they do something. I think this Patriots team is going to show that they're young. They've played a pretty bad schedule in my opinion, and I mean, they haven't really played that much talent. Drake May has not played against a defense of this caliber this season, and I mean, I think it's going to show. I think he's going to show that he is just a young quarterback still. Obviously, he's an MVP caliber young quarterback, but I think this is where the Texans show that they are made for the playoffs. And I mean, C.J. Stroud doesn't even need to play that well, in my opinion. He did not play well at all against the Steelers, and they found a way to dismantle that team. Obviously, it's the Steelers, but I think they're going to do the same thing in this game. I think it's going to be a close one. Obviously, it's playoff football. We're getting down the stretch, but I think Houston gets it done, horns up. But last game of the slate, 6:30 p.m. on NBC, the Rams taking on the Bears. This is going to be a fun one, too.
I feel like this is going to be a very close game. Expect an offensive masterclass from this game. As much as I want to say that the Bears are going to lose because of Ben Johnson doing that put it all on the table attitude on fourth down, really taken from Dan Campbell's playbook from his days in Detroit, I feel like I'm going to save that for the NFC Championship finish. So I'm going to have to go with the Bears. I mean, we've gone over this multiple years, but you got Luther Burden, DJ Moore, Colston Loveland's finally being a part of this offense. I mean, so many players on that offense. It's just a defensive nightmare for any DC to try to deal with. Though the Rams are one of the better teams to maybe go up against this offense. But I feel like the Rams, after that one Carolina game, the Panthers game, there's glaring issues. I mean, it seems like their only game plan, Sean McVay just hands Matt Stafford a paper. It's just got Puka Nacua on it. So, give me the Bears.
Quick thing about this game, I'm not sure if you guys have heard it yet. This is on pace to be the coldest NFL game ever. -7 degrees wind chill at Soldier Field. And the Rams are a warm weather team. I mean, obviously Matt Stafford's played in Lambeau and Chicago before his time in the Lions, but Puka Nacua, I don't think has felt this cold in his life. So I'm taking the Bears. I would take them if it was a warm weather game because it's a miracle year for them. I can't see this magical run ending anytime soon. The Bears are the team of this year, and they are on a magical run right now. I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon.
Well, to me, I think with this Bears team, and I think the Packers in the second half, the way they played was horrible, and obviously this game being in Soldier Field is huge. It's going to be close, I think, regardless of who wins this game due to that. That Chicago fan base will be nuts because they haven't seen this type of football in, probably 15, 14, 13 years, around that range. But it's Matthew Stafford. It's the Rams. That defensive line is really good. Caleb Williams being on the run constantly, trying to force them to make a mistake. He can make those great throws, don't get me wrong. He made some incredible throws against the Packers. But I trust the Rams more than Matthew Stafford. I trust Sean McVay more. Obviously, just having the Rams prepared in the moment in a very tough road environment, I think the Rams get a close win.
The Rams are the more trustworthy team. The Rams are the more trustworthy offense. The Rams are the more trustworthy defense in this regard. But who cares about trust in football nowadays? You see the state of college football. I'm going with the Bears, baby. This team is going on a run. And I mean, it's so fun because I've believed in Caleb Williams from the start. I don't care what anybody says. He is a very good quarterback. You've seen how he plays in the fourth quarter. We just saw the Texans put up 23 points in the fourth quarter. We just saw the Bears themselves put up 25 against their bitter rival. I think the sky's the limit for this team. I think they are a hard-nosed team. Ben Johnson knows how to get the most out of his players. He fits the culture in Chicago. They are back. and I think they're going to make a statement in this game. I think they're going to win by 2 scores. That's my hot take. I don't think the Bears winning is a hot take. I think they win by at least 10. But I don't know. I've got a feeling. But that's going to do it for us for our first episode back. Second semester of our junior years on Stirring the Pot. We thank you guys for tuning in again, and we are going to get back at you guys with a lot more episodes in the future. See y'all. Peace.